Television and film fans around the world are voracious consumers of the United States' output. Big Hollywood productions are now being co-financed by Chinese studios, and their scripts are being tweaked to appeal to international audiences. When this kind of content can't be acquired or officially remade, there's always one other viable option. Just rip it off. This can result in some hilarious and surreal versions of familiar properties, especially if we're talking about kids shows, which is already surreal and hilarious in itself. So as a note to copyright infringement, today we're going to take a look at 11 insane knockoffs of popular children's shows. Why watch The Amazing World of Gumball when you can watch Miracle Star? Debuting in 2011 on Cartoon Network, The Amazing World of Gumball is a joint British-American production detailing the adventures of middle schooler Gumball, who happens to be a cat, and his brother Darwin, who happens to be a fish. In 2015, Chinese food company Saiyuan Foods produced this commercial for its milk brand Miracle Star. In it, some very Gumball-like characters are menaced by a giant cloud, encounter some hostile foodstuffs, and engage in other strange activities that, frankly, we are just kind of at a loss to describe. Clocking in at nearly 3 minutes, the short doesn't reveal itself to be a milk advertisement until the very end. Although due to a lack of subtitles, it's possible that we're just missing something in the dialogue. We suggest muting the sound or making up your own.
Why watch Adventure Time when you can watch The Legend of Lucky Pie? The next selection is quite impressive, considering that it was produced not by a studio, but by an independent group of Chinese animators on their own dime. Sure, it's obviously a shameless ripoff of the style and characterization of a long-running American series, Adventure Time, but there's actually a pretty understandable reason for that. Simply, Chinese animators often need practice, as they are bound by constraints of the studios that employ them. The creators of this 3-episode series worked on it as a labor of love, an opportunity to gain experience working in an unfamiliar animation style. The episode available online, Who Makes That Voice?, runs about 12 minutes and is quite well done for a group of dedicated friends working in their spare time.
对黄金，但我们得小心，那很可能是陷阱。
没问题，我会很小心的。呀吼！
别冲动啊，老弟。没办法。
It's well worth a watch, but we advise against clicking on the English dubbed version. It is terrible.
Why watch Pokemon when you can watch Dogmons? Studio Production Interval, which creates content for TV Brazil, will make more than one appearance on this list. Its first offender, a pseudo-anime series that ran for all of 3 episodes beginning in 2002, was clearly inspired by the mountains of money being made by the multimedia platform Pokemon. The first episode was aired in 5 parts, and an additional 2 episodes were produced but never aired. Plans for 17 episodes were scrapped when the airing flopped and the series was largely forgotten about. That is until YouTube intervened. The entire first series, The Portal, is available online. And while it is interesting to see Brazilian animators try their hands at Japanese anime, they only just come close, resulting in a sort of uncanny anime valley that is a little off-putting. Plus, if we're being honest, it's just not that good. Nice try, Brazil.
Why watch My Little Pony when you can watch Funtasia? This bizarre hybrid would be truly confusing even if it were not actively flipping the bird at intellectual property law itself. An English-language Spanish production based on a German toy line, billed as Central Europe's most successful, Funtasia is a crappy CGI knockoff of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, and it's a crappy knockoff that simply no one was waiting for. Specifically, nobody has been waiting for it for about 3 years. The first trailers appeared online in October 2013, but no actual episodes have materialized despite the trailers themselves promising a 2014 release. The voice acting and sound design are of decent quality, but the animation is likely to make you feel like you woke up in 2001. Strangely, the series has an English-language fan website that appears to be updated fairly regularly. For all 6 American fans of this non-existent series centered on a Central European My Little Pony knockoff, we salute you. Keep hope alive. We're sure that a complete episode will arrive any day now.
Why watch Scooby-Doo when you can watch Goober and the Ghost Chasers? This entry may very well have the dubious honor of being the most absolute shameless ripoff on this list. Not just because of its deadpan similarity to the style and formula of an existing property, although yes, that too. What makes Goober and the Ghost Chasers, a point-on-point retread of Scooby-Doo Where Are You, so special is that it was produced by Hanna-Barbera, you know, the studio that produced Scooby-Doo. The venerable animation studio was known for recycling, mostly animations and backgrounds, but many of their cartoons stuck very close to the basic formula of Scooby-Doo. Arguably its most successful show. But Goober threw all lip service to originality out the window and was simply Scooby-Doo 2.0. The only differences between this show and the original is that, well, Goober would turn invisible when he got scared, instead of just running like Scooby would. And sometimes the Partridge Family would show up to give Goober and his friends an assist. The 70s were a weird time.
Why watch Winnie the Pooh when you can watch Vini Pooh? The Soviet version of Winnie the Pooh is not so much a ripoff as it is a different adaptation of the same source material, A. Milne's wildly popular children's books from the 1920s. Considering that the American adaptations have debuted several years before, however, it is easy to lump it into this category, and we include it on this list for a simple reason: it's hilarious. For instance, the version of the story where Pooh visits Rabbit opens with a solid 2.5 minutes of Pooh and Piglet stomping through the forest, arguing about where to go and singing about how the mornings are the best time for visits. The story takes a familiar turn, with Pooh ending up stuck in Rabbit's hole. But we've all seen this before. We're here for the Russian dialogue, which really is the most jarring possible accompaniment to Winnie the Pooh. The Soviet version noticeably does not feature a Christopher Robin character, or any human characters at all. The shorts are quite well produced, and were a hit upon release, still airing periodically on Russian television to this day.
Why watch Power Rangers when you can watch tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills / Mega Powers? The insanely named tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills somehow manages to completely jack the entire Power Rangers concept, while also evoking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of its title, and simultaneously edging in on the 90210 demographic with its setting. This truly embarrassing ripoff was produced by DIC Entertainment, which never met an intellectual property it didn't like. It ran on the USA Network from 1994 to 1995, incredibly managing an 40-episode lineup before being cancelled. Mega Powers has the distinction of being just as blatant as a ripoff, but nowhere near as slickly produced. Another product of Brazilian production company that brought you Dogmons, Mega Powers is a laughably amateur production that looks like nothing more than a fan film you and your friends may have made in the 3rd grade. Terrible sound design, worst costumes, and the crappiest CGI ever. It's all here. As they say, big as life, twice as ugly. Little information is available online about the series' run, and frankly, we think that's for the best. Why watch Tom and Jerry when you can watch Herman and Katnip? And now, for an antidote to the last entry, we present Herman and Katnip, the rare knockoff to rise above imitation and actually stand on par with its source material. Just as Jerry prevailed over Tom, Herman the Mouse always won his battles as well. But the Herman and Katnip series is notable for upping the ante considerably in terms of sheer brutality of its cartoon violence. Even more so than its influences, the series treated Katnip the cat with absolutely no mercy, with almost every episode concluding with Herman and friends merely singing a tune while Katnip undergoes some horrible torturous demise, such as being eaten by sharks or buried under a rock slide. Cartoons in the series are produced for about 10 years, and many episodes are still available online. Honestly, we can't recommend them highly enough.
Why watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when you can watch Street Sharks? And now back to shameless merchandise mongers DIC Entertainment, who apparently were unable to get any licensing rights to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and were none too happy about it. In addition to the previously mentioned show with the suspect title, its animated series Street Sharks attempted to cash in through sheer, unadulterated imitation. 4 genetically modified aquatic animals become anthropomorphic talking crime fighters. This is probably the exact wording used to pitch the show to studio executives, and we're surprised the lawsuits didn't begin flying before the sentence was halfway out of the mouth of whoever thought this was a good idea. Amazingly, the show limped to 40 episodes, generated a short-lived comic book series, and even had a line of Mattel action figures, which probably ruined the Christmas mornings of literally dozens of children in the mid-90s.
Why watch Sesame Street when you can watch Peppermint Park? To describe it literally, Peppermint Park is a direct-to-video children's educational program produced by a now-defunct company and released in the early 1980s, which closely resembles the format of beloved kids series Sesame Street. To describe it figuratively, Peppermint Park is pure distilled nightmares, an abomination vomited up with stinking guts of some forgotten eldritch horror. Yes, it's an obvious ripoff from characterizations and down to format to its poorly written educational songs. But the puppets, everything about them, from their cold dead eyes to the over-the-top voice acting, makes us want to run screaming through the nearest wall. Since the show was only ever released in VHS format, only a few clips are available online, and no known VHS copies still exist. We like to think that's a result of some heroic action on the part of someone who is no longer with us to tell the tale, as they likely sacrificed them to destroy the last copy while being dragged down to the depths of misery by Cthulhu himself.
Why watch Mickey Mouse when you can watch Tomorrow's Pioneers? And finally, the single most bizarre example we could find, a Palestinian-produced Hamas-funded children's program featuring explicit ripoffs of one of the most heavily protected intellectual properties in the world. This is the world we live in, folks. We didn't create the news, we just report it. Alright, so for those who may not know, Hamas is a militant Palestinian Islamic terrorist organization who seriously has it in for Islam and the entire Western world. This show, which ran between 2007 and 2009, features a human host and, well, Mickey Mouse, and fed its young audience a steady diet of anti-Western, anti-Semitic rhetoric, up to and including messages about the glory of Notre Dame. No, really, the highlighted video features Mickey, entrusted to safeguard his land, wailing over the dead body of his grandfather before lamenting the filth of the criminal plundering Jews, and going to take up his case with an Israeli authority figure. A shrill screaming match ensues. Mickey is violently stabbed to death, and children everywhere learn a valuable lesson: that adults are really seriously fucked up.